Good morning, folks. Well, unless you're listening to this at night, then I guess it's a good night to you, but I'm recording this early in the morning, and I thought I'd throw out a good morning to everybody, so there it is. Hi, my name is Ron, and I'm probably not quite awake yet, but I wanted to get this episode recorded. This is Delusions of Granular, as always, and as I promised, we're going to be doing a spoilerific show about Star Wars Aftermath. That's right, last episode I gave you my take on this. Now I'm going to kind of dive into the granularness of this book that came out just last week. It was written by an author named Chuck Wendig, and it doesn't look like he's written any other Star Wars novels, but you know, this is his first shot out there, and I'm not entirely sure even if he's writing the rest of this trilogy, but I enjoyed his writing style, so I thought he did a fine job with the Star Wars, making it feel like Star Wars, so good on him for that. So, what is this book about? Like I said in the last episode, it's a little bit daunting when you first open it up because there's so many new characters that are introduced, and part of it is because the way the book is broken up into the main story and then these interludes. And as I said in the last episode, I'm going to leave those interludes on the side for now and just focus on the main story. I think that's the way to really explain this book for my listeners. So, basically this is, taking place about 3 months after the Battle of Endor. The celebration of the fall of the Empire has happened, and lo and behold, the Empire hasn't fallen yet. There's still some Imperials out there that are trying to regroup and figure out how to move forward. But really, it starts out with a familiar character by the name of Wedge Antilles, and he's off on a kind of a fact-finding mission. He's off by himself, kind of enjoying some peace and quiet by himself after the war that he fought in, and lo and behold, he comes across a Star Destroyer, and he's a little bit panicked because he's only in a small Star Hopper ship. So he ends up doing some tricky maneuver and ends up on the ship of the Star Destroyer and basically gets captured right away. He, our hero, or our supposed hero of the book, ends up being the person in distress. So he is the author is really kind of flipping the coin, so to speak, right away by just saying, look, if you think that Wedge is going to be the hero of this book, he's not. So, then it goes into introducing a lot of other characters, and like I said, some of them are in these interludes, so they're kind of not necessary to the larger plot. They're just in there for whatever short story interlude they're in. So, here are the characters that do become the main characters of the book. We have a woman by the name of Nora Wexley. Now, she was a rebel pilot in the Battle of Endor, and she has flashes back to the being actually inside the Death Star when the Millennium Falcon and Wedge are kind of flying through those tunnels of the second Death Star. Well, she's in one of the other ships, and she's I believe one of the ships that she's ordered to veer off, and hopefully a couple of those TIE fighters will follow her. So that is who she is now. Obviously, she was never mentioned in the movies, but they're kind of writing her into the movies by giving her this backstory. And her story is, she's kind of done with her tour of duty as a rebel. So she's going home to her home planet of Akiva, and Akiva is pretty much the main planet in this entire story. And she's going home because she's going home to be with her son again. Son that she's kind of left 3 years prior to this to join the rebellion. She felt that her commitment to the rebellion was more important to her than her son at the time, so she's going home to her son, Temmin Wexley, and he's a bit angry with her for leaving. He's basically taken their home and turned it into his kind of black market headquarters, and he doesn't really need her around anymore. So, there's some animosity between the two, and it's an interesting dynamic. We never really have had a mother and her teenager son as main characters in a Star Wars story before. So, that's kind of the two main players of the book. We also have a character by the name of Sinjir Rath Velis. Sinjir, I don't think they ever really mention his second two names much after the first time, but Sinjir is an ex-Imperial, and not just an ex-Imperial, he's what he's known as a loyalty officer. He's basically kind of like the Imperial's version of the military police or internal affairs, where he basically investigates the Imperials, and his real duty is to make sure that they're loyal enough to be in the Empire. So he is always kind of testing these Imperials on their loyalty to the Empire and the Emperor himself. But that was in the past. He is now not an Imperial, more of a defector, and we find him at a bar, kind of getting drunk, and I think he's pretty much drunk throughout this entire book. He's an interesting character. He's a bit. I found him pretty enjoyable. He seems to be a little sarcastic throughout the book. Doesn't really know his place in this new universe without the Empire, or at least the falling Empire. We also have another character by the name of Jaz Imari. Jaz Imari is a bounty hunter. She is of the Zabrak race. Now, the Zabrak race, if you don't know that race by name, this is it's the same race as Darth Maul, so she has the horns on her heads. I don't think they ever mention if she has the tattoos over her entire body, but she definitely has the horns. She's a bit of a cold character. She is out to she's tracking a bounty on Akiva, and that bounty is a man by the name of Armin Crassus. Now, Armin Crassus is he's a moneylender, one of the main moneylenders for the Empire, and also a slaver. So, not a nice guy, but he's wrapped up with the Imperials. He's kind of funds all of the things that the Empire has done, and he is Jess's main target at the beginning of this. She's kind of in sniper mode, kind of looking out for to kind of shoot this guy, because she's, like I said, she's a bounty hunter, but with the fall of the Death Star, the second Death Star, she's kind of switched sides, and instead of taking bounties for the Imperials, she's now taking bounties for the rebels, kind of going where the money is, where sides have switched, so she switches as well, the shift of power. So, because I mention that because it is mentioned that she was actually on Endor during the Battle of Endor. She actually was in the trees somewhere, and her bounty was Leia. So, again, another character that was kind of written into the movies without ever having been seen in the movies, and this is a familiar technique to those of us who've read the EU. They've done this numerous times. Mara Jade comes to mind. having been written into Jabba's palace when she was never actually there in the movies. In fact, Sinjir Wrath Velis was also written into the Battle of Endor as well. He was there. He actually sees Jas. So right away we're starting to see some connections to not only the original movies, but also these characters are kind of connected to one another, all having the three main characters, Nora, Sinjir, and Jas, having been connected to the Battle of Endor. So, and then of course Temmin being Nora's son. So these are our main characters, our main protagonists throughout the book, and they get together to form a band throughout the book in ways that I'm not going to go deep into detail on this. I just wanted to kind of give you the main setup for this. So Jas she's, like I said, she's kind of in sniper mode, about ready to take out this arson Crassus, and she realizes that he's there with a group of other Imperials. Imperials by the name of Admiral Ray Sloan, Moff Valko Pandian, also an advisor by the name of Yup Tashu, also a general named Jalia Shale, and they're at this group of Imperials is at this palace by a title that's used, a person whose title is used throughout the book very much, almost to the point where you can make a drinking game out of it. It's the title is called Satrap. I was never familiar with this title before reading this book, but this is basically kind of like a governor or a leader of these worlds. So they're at the palace of Satrap Istra Dairu, and they're there for a summit, basically to figure out how to move the empire forward without the emperor, the leader, being dead now. So this group of Imperials is kind of forming, and this bounty hunter is ready to take down one of them, and she realizes, oh wait, there's more, so I can maybe get a larger bounty if I kind of have patience and try to figure out how to take them all out instead of just taking down the one. So and I should go back a minute. Admiral Ray Sloan is actually the Imperial that captures Wedge at the beginning of this book. So she's an important figure in this book. She also first appeared in the previous new canon book, A New Dawn. That's the Kanan Rebels book. There she was a lower-ranking Imperial, kind of frustrated with the upper-ranking Imperials and their lack of leadership qualities. So it's nice that they're kind of bringing her back into this, really tying these books together. So another character I need to mention is a Celestian. That's a Nine Num race character. This character is named Surat Nuit. And Surat is the head gangster on Akiva, and he plays an important role in this because of his underbelly status. He kind of has it out for Temmin, who's running a black market ring, and through, like I said, through events that I'm not going to go into great detail on, but he's really kind of the character that really brings our main characters, who are from different backgrounds, together. Sinjir and Jas ended up getting captured by this Surat, and they break out and kind of form an alliance, and then they run into Temmin, and Temmin is kind of running away from his mother, and she's trying to reconnect with him. So, like I said, through events that I'm not going to go into detail, it ends up the four of these characters are trying to get off the planet of Akiva. The problem with this is that the Imperials actually have a blockade, so they're not letting any traffic off of this planet, which is, because of the summit, because the Imperials are trying to, show their force. Akiva is kind of another backwater planet. It's very jungle-like and humid and not a lot of activity there, so it comes to the attention of many characters in the book. Why are the Imperials so interested in this planet? And really, it's just because it's where they're holding this summit of Imperial leaders. So, the main goal of our protagonists they're all trying to get off planet, but they're also in Jazz's case, she's trying to get the bounty on these Imperials. So they form this kind of very fragile alliance to get the Imperials, possibly save Wedge. Because Nora finds out that Wedge is captured, and also get off planet. And a goal that, although it's a goal of Nora to get off planet and leave Akiva, Temmin, her son, doesn't want to. This is his home. He doesn't want to get off planet. He's he's really angry with her for leaving. His father, Nora's husband, disappeared prior to this book, so he's, kind of, the troublesome teenager who has abandonment issues, and in doing so, trying to cope with his abandonment issues, he builds a droid, kind of a bodyguard droid, and it's actually a battle droid from the Clone Wars, from the prequels. Yes, we get another battle droid, and it's referred to as a B1 battle droid, or if you spell that out, it's B-ONE, so Bone. So he's referred to in this book as Mr. Bones. Also, he has little animal bones kind of strapped to his body, so he kind of makes this clicking sound, rattling sound as he moves, kind of like a skeleton almost. So it's interesting that what the author Chuck Wendig is doing here. He's really trying to bring in more of the remnants of the prequels into this. Mr. Bones being one of the most inept battle droids or droids ever, droid army ever created. He basically points out that most of the characters in this novel know that the battle droids were pretty, not only annoying, but just not effective at all as an army. But what they do is they make Mr. Bones a very effective battle droid, a bodyguard. He's almost like a Wolverine, almost in his fighting style. The Temmin who programmed him gave him different programming than just a normal battle droid. So he has some dancer programming in him. He has some programming that Temmin got from General Grievous, although not mentioned by name. Mr. Bones ends up becoming kind of a comic relief because he still says the annoying Roger, Roger, but he's also very much ready to kill at any moment, ready to protect Temmin at any moment. And his tone is always kind of off. He's a little bit, I think he's always kind of referred to as psychotic. But very entertaining character. A great addition to this book. He every time he's there, even though he's the annoying battle droid, he's pretty darn funny throughout the book. So as I mentioned in the last episode, there's other characters in this from the original movies. They play small parts. I already mentioned Wedge. He's in this, but he's oftentimes not very effective because he's a prisoner. But we also have Admiral Akbar, who is really the head of the rebels at this point. He is the one who's finding out about what's going on Akiva, and he's trying to figure out whether to send in more rebels or if it's a trap. But he's very cautious about moving forward and going into another battle. He sends out some probe droids. He sends out kind of a paratrooper military troop that doesn't go well. They all basically get shot down from the sky, except for one character, one member of this troop, a character by the name of Jom Barrel, and he kind of survives as kind of a lone survivor. He gets his arm broken, but he's trying to bring down the Imperials on the ground by himself. And it's interesting, like I said, Akbar, he does end up sending out a rebel fleet to fight this Imperial force that's around Akiva, but we see it from a distance. It's happening, but it's really this book is really focusing on our main characters and what they're doing. And they're almost like a band of rebels themselves. This does have some feel like it's the Rebels TV show. We have this group of unlikely heroes banded together, but a lot of the action that's going on is kind of in the periphery. Like I said, Admiral Akbar's in this. Then Princess Leia shows up in this only as a recording. She's kind of a recorded message that goes out to the entire universe to kind of as a newsreel, telling people what happened and how the New Republic is going to move forward. Luke is only really mentioned by name. He's mentioned as the only Jedi. He's never really in it. I thought at a point he would show up, but he doesn't. Han and Chewbacca, they show up in one of the interludes. I will get into that in the next episode, my next 3-part episode about Aftermath. But never mentioned any appearance of R2-D2 or C-3PO. Lando is briefly mentioned in the Han Solo interlude. Darth Vader is mentioned by name. Obviously dead, but and the Emperor is mentioned as well by name, but obviously dead. So, this is really a book that's focusing on new characters, and I don't know if people are going to gravitate to that or not, but in the end, that's what we got. We got a story of new heroes as they move forward, trying to defeat the still surviving Empire. At the end of this book, I will say this, spoilers, most of the Imperials in the Summit are killed or captured. Ray Sloan, the Admiral Ray Sloan, who's kind of been the main Imperial throughout this book, she is she survives and she escapes, and she escapes, and in the epilogue she actually ends up reporting to another superior on board a Star Destroyer. And it's interesting because in this epilogue she's having this conversation with this mysterious Imperial, and they never mention who he is. So, something that could only be done in a book, actually have a conversation with a character and you don't know who that character is. So I wonder who this person is. Really, the question of who he is really the only cliffhanger we get from this book. I know this is a trilogy of, or going to be part of a trilogy, but not really a lot of cliffhangers in this book. Good guys win. The Imperials, either don't survive or, kind of retreat, licking their wounds. Whoever this person is that Ray Sloan reports to at the end of this book, it'll be interesting. Is this a character that's going to appear in Force Awakens? Immediately I think, is this General Hux? But General Hux looks young in The Force Awakens, and this is still 30 odd years out before The Force Awakens. So we don't have any hints of the Empire going away. We don't have any hints of the New Order taking shape. We don't have any hints of the New Republic failing or the Resistance forming. So this is part of the journey to The Force Awakens, but really this is just the first step. So it'll be interesting to see how they move forward with this in the rest of this trilogy, and as far as the rest of the books that are coming out in the future in this journey to The Force Awakens. But like I said, this is it's a good book. It's definitely a page turner. A lot of it is there's good action going on in this. Good on the ground action, as well as some space battles, and no lightsabers in this. Like you said, no Jedi, so no lightsabers. But I didn't really miss not having Jedi in this. I thought it was still a good read. If you're open to new characters being introduced into the Star Wars universe, then give this book a shot. So that is it for now. I don't think there's much else that I wanted to really cover. I didn't want to give away the entire story, what goes down in the book, beat by beat. But I will be back in our next episode to finish off my talk about Aftermath. I will go through the numerous interludes throughout the book. They're interesting. I think you'll enjoy the interlude talk. Definitely some familiar locations involved in this, some familiar characters, some not familiar characters as well. But we even get finally a location that is very Force Awakens specific. One of the interludes does take place on Jakku. So, with that, folks, my name is Ron. This has been Delusions of Granular. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher, as well as find all of our episodes at delusionsofgranular.com. There you can also find ways to contact us. Please do contact us if you have any feedback about the show, anything you would like to talk about, or would like me to talk about. Please do contact me anytime. So until then, folks, I will be back at you next week. But until then, stay granular.
A blockbuster summer. Moving pictures got us through to September. They made a movie about me and you, and they made it half nude and half true. There was a blood-sucking summer. I spent half the time trying to get paid for my savior. Swishing through the city center, I did a couple favors for these guys that look like Tusken Raiders.